So, as many of you know, we had the opportunity to spend some time down at Unity Village a few weeks ago. It was magical for me. I'd been coming to Unity for 40 years and had never once been there. It was amazing to spend time on those grounds and soak in the energy that Charles and Myrtle had created down there. It was absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite things to do was to go down into Myrtle's Grove and just sit there and feel her presence. How many people have been down there? Show of hands. Yeah. It's amazing. It was really, really, really wonderful just to sit down there and soak all of that in. And the thing that was amazing to me as I sat there, I was wondering, what is it about Unity that is so different and so unique? What made them so special? And I thought to myself, well, it really comes down to one thing. And that one thing is that what made Unity so special, and actually there was something about that time in history, because Unity was one of many new thought things that were going on at that time. And I think the thing that made it super special was that the Fillmores actually, if you think about it, they made a quantum leap in their own spiritual growth and their own spiritual understanding. And I thought about it. It's like this quantum leap that they experienced. What was it about that? It was incredible to go down there and spend time experiencing what it was that they did down there. I got a chance to go in and see the archives. I had a chance to spend some time and read stuff that was over 100, 120, 130 years old that they put together down there. It was really magical. And every single time that I kept playing with this stuff and feeling it, this idea, this quantum leap in their own spiritual growth and understanding, you could literally feel it in every single thing that we did, whether I was on the grounds at Unity Village or we spent time downtown at Unity Plaza, which is where they actually built that building. It was actually a building that Charles wanted to create a place for Myrtle. It was like a homage, if you will, to Myrtle. It was Charles's Taj Mahal. For those of you who know the story of the Taj Mahal, it's really just a beautiful way to pay homage to somebody's wife. And so that was Unity Plaza, which was amazing to go down there and spend time there. But I have to admit that I think my favorite time in spending time down at the village was down on Tracy Street. So for those of you that don't know, Tracy Street was the place where the Fillmores started. It was actually, they were working out of their house. They were doing all this stuff in their house, and they realized, all right, we don't have enough room for all of this, so what do we need to do? Well, we need to go find a space. So what they did, there was a little building in an industrial part of Kansas City, and they just went in the door and asked the person, we're looking for a little bit of space. Do you have anything at all? And the guy said, well, as a matter of fact, we're not using our second story, and so if you wanted to, you could start off with that. And to me, it was magical. So we went up into that space, and sure enough, you see the original little stage, and it's about 10 feet wide, not much more. And they put this little altar thing up there, and you can see it, and you can feel it, and they've got a few of the chairs from where they originally started. That's where everything started. It was incredible for me. Even though the building itself now is all run down and everything else like that, it was incredible to feel the energy of what it was like when they first got started. It was amazing. But then it got even better. So they said, this is this floor. We're going to take you upstairs. And what was so interesting as we were walking upstairs, there's this little door opening. And I remember I started getting close to this room, and all of a sudden it was like I literally had to stop because the intensity of the energy that was coming out of this one room was mind-blowing to me. I couldn't believe it, but I could feel it, and I was just like, whoa, what is going on? Come to find out, that room was where they started Silent Unity. It's a little room. It's not more than maybe 10 by 10, not much bigger than that, but that is where it started. The silent unity and the energy coming out of that room is off the charts crazy. So then we got to sit in that room where they started it. And then after that, we got to go into where Myrtle's office was, and you could feel the energy coming off of that. It was just magical. And I kept coming back to this thing, this quantum leap. I'm like, well, what is that all about? And not only is what it about for them, but how about us? What is it that we can do to have a quantum leap in our own spiritual understanding, our own spiritual awakening? Anybody ever ask those questions to themselves? Yeah, absolutely. And as I was thinking about it, I wanted to share one of the concepts this morning when I was down in studying for my ordination. And it has to deal with something called adjacent possibilities. What are adjacent possibilities? So, what happens whenever we're exposed to something new, and it doesn't matter if it's a spiritual concept or something else, new information's coming to you. There's something that you do. It's a psychological term that happens to you when this information comes to you. And we have a tendency to do one of three things. The first thing that can happen is you can go, yeah, I think that's good. I think I'm good. I can understand that. I can relate to it. I can see where I can accept that into my belief system. Then there's the other part that goes, not so much. In other words, what happens is often when we're presented with something that's outside of our belief, there's a complete rejection of that information or whatever the belief concept is. Or sometimes there's something in the middle. And in the middle is what's called the adjacent possible. The adjacent possible is that space where you go, I'm not sure I can go all the way over here and believe it, but I think I could land somewhere here where maybe it's something that I could accept. Maybe. And as I was thinking about that, especially when it comes to unity and those concepts and those principles that Charles and Myrtle taught, I thought about myself and my own spiritual journey and where that impacted me the most. And to me, when I thought about it, I was thinking about the concept or a belief that I have in reincarnation. Now, you don't have to believe in reincarnation. It's okay. But I'm just sharing this with you so that you understand how this idea of the adjacent possible happens to you when it comes to your own spiritual unfoldment and growth. So many of you know that I came from a fundamentalist background. The thought, the idea, the concept of reincarnation to me was, whoa, not even close. There was a rejection of that information without a doubt coming from my background. Why? Because I was a fundamentalist. It didn't exist in the Bible, then it wasn't true. So that was my former belief. And then what happened was, what really started to change that for me was when I started getting into Edgar Cayce. How many Edgar Cayce people do we have out there? Yeah. So here's Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was a fundamental Christian. And all of a sudden, he started having these visions. And the next thing you know, he started helping people. Well, back in the 1920s and 30s, he helped tens of thousands of people heal and take care of themselves. It's an amazing story. Amazing story. But his background was a fundamental Christian. In fact, he read the Bible every single year he was alive. He read the Bible because he believed in it, and that was his background. But something interesting happened. When he was doing these readings, Cayce kept telling these people about these past lives that they lived. And sometimes he'd come back and he'd say, well, yeah, the problem you're having right now is because of this thing that was affecting you back here, and here's what we need to do about it. And then he would go on to give them the craziest stuff that he would tell them to do. But, the crazy stuff he told them to do was healing them. And he did this tens of thousands of times while Cayce was alive. In fact, what was really fun is about a month ago, I had a chance to go down to his place in Virginia Beach called the Association of Research and Enlightenment, and I got to stand in the room and see the Casey stuff too. That was fun. Story in and of itself. That was really cool. But the point is that Casey would come back and he kept going. He had a conflict. He had this conflict because he kept going, well, wait a minute, I'm a fundamental Christian. I don't believe in reincarnation. And yet every time I do a reading with this stuff and these people are getting better, I got this, I don't know what to do with this. What do I do with this thing? And so Casey just kind of had to process that for a while. And over time, it just started to make sense to him and it just clicked in. And so I'm reading Casey's story in his book, There Is a River, which is his life story. And all of a sudden I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But over time, what happened is, all of a sudden then, I'm starting to look into, be exposed to more unity principles and everything else like that. And the next thing I know, I read James Dillard Friedman's book called A Case for Reincarnation. I'm not going to bore you with the details of the book, but all I'm going to tell you is, Freeman goes in and starts looking at reincarnation from a historical standpoint, and then all of a sudden you realize that it used to be in the Bible. And then there was a Council of Nicaea. In the Council of Nicaea, they took it out of the Bible. Ta-da. And there we go, right? And so therefore, all of a sudden I'm like, wow. And then when I started to think about it, for me, it just started to make sense. It makes a lot more sense for me personally. And again, I don't want anybody to think that they have to or not have to believe in reincarnation. It's okay. It's okay if we have difference of opinions, right? Isn't that okay? So anyways, I started to look at that, and then from a spiritual growth standpoint, I thought to myself, wouldn't it make a lot more sense if, like, we had more than one shot to figure this thing out? And then I thought to myself, even from being a loving God standpoint, which I believe in totally, wouldn't it make more sense for us to be able to have a few cracks at this thing, to really understand it and go deeper in our own path and our own walk and our own way of being? Wouldn't it make more sense for that? So over time, what happened is I was over here with the belief, no, and then over time, I started to come over here, and then all of a sudden it was like, yes. The reason I'm sharing that with you is, in my opinion, right here, right now, we are on the verge of humanity going through another huge shift, another quantum step, if you will, in our own growth and understanding. I know, and I say this often, that you open the newspapers and you sit there and say, well, Mike, how can you say that when you look at all this stuff that's going on? And all I'm telling you is, yeah, well, that's the side that they want us to be focusing on. But the truth is, behind the scenes, when I talk to people like you and I talk to other people, what's happening is there is a massive awakening going on right now. The energy on this planet for a quantum shift, a quantum awareness, this waking up, if you will, is off the charts. And the ability to have that happen for us right now, the only thing that's slowing it down, and it's not slowing down, but if you want to know on an individual basis, what is it that is happening, is that we are starting to wake up, and the level that it's happening is accelerated. And each and every one of this, and I want you to hear this because it's true, we all have the ability, if we want to have a quantum shift. How many people would be up for a quantum shift in their own spiritual growth and development? Yeah. And so that's what's happening. We are on the verge of shifting all of humanity. Waking up. As the saying goes, it's called the age of Aquarius. Guess what? It's on the verge of happening. It is here. It absolutely is here. And the more we can open ourselves up to it, like the Fillmores did back then, the more we are going to be able to have the experience of waking up. If that's what you want. You don't have to want it, but I know a lot of you do want it. I know I want it. And so I'm opening up myself to receive it And that's one of the things that when you go through this process is the ability to be able to receive what's being given to us right now. How many people would be up for that? Yeah. So, are you ready? Are you really ready? Cool. Then what we're going to do this morning is we're just going to spend a moment and we're going to go back into silence, if you will. Just close our eyes again. And go back into the silence. And just simply connect with yourself. Sometimes I put my hand over my heart just to feel it, to connect with myself. And then I connect with Source. Once again. And I want you to imagine for a moment that you're simply having a conversation. And it's this idea of letting the universe know that you're ready. That you're ready to receive what's yours to receive. In terms of the ability to make a quantum leap in your own spiritual awakening. So literally in your mind, have a conversation and let the universe know, let God know they are open and willing and ready to receive this gift. Imagine, if you will, this gift is now just coming down. Whether you see energy, whether you feel it, whatever it is, just imagine that the gift is coming to you. And the only thing that you need to do is receive it. It doesn't need to be anything more complicated than that. Just simply receive the gift that's being given to you. Open yourself up. Say, yes, I'm ready to receive. Let me take this in, God. Let me receive it in the way that I am meant to receive it. Let this be my stepping stone. Let this be the moment when I can finally let go of every single thought, every single word I say, every single action I take that is anything less than whatever is going to help me move forward in my own spiritual growth and understanding in this leap. I let go of it. I let go of the game I've been playing with myself which says I'm less than. I'm finally able to accept, fully accept who and what I am. You created me. And I'm willing to accept that. I'm also willing to accept the gifts so I can bring them into my life and share those with those that I love. My friends, my family, my community, and this planet. May I become the greatest reflection of your light that I can possibly become. May I have the courage to take this step in consciousness May I understand that this moment in time is a time that I knew would come in this lifetime, and I acknowledge that now is the time. And maybe I didn't understand it until now, and that's okay. Maybe I got confused, maybe I got lost, maybe I forgot a little bit. But in this moment, I'm going to let all of that go. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to give myself grace, compassion, self-love. And I'm going to walk into the arms of you. And I'm going to remember fully who and what I am and what my connection is with you, God. At this altar, I leave all of my doubts, all of my fears, all of my misunderstandings, all of my pain. And I leave it here at the altar. And I accept my healing. Once and for all. I am one with thee. I am one with thee. I am one with thee. And just feel that. And as you go forth in this day, I want you to remember that what we just did is very, very real. Because you left all of that stuff. You let it go. You've forgiven yourself. And now you've embraced fully your divinity. Let that unfold for you in the way that it's meant to unfold for you, not anybody else. Do not look at anybody else's journey, because this gift is unique unto you. And the way that it will unfold will be very different from you, for you. Simply just start paying attention to what shows up. And so now together, we send our thoughts of gratitude to God. And just say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And then when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. How'd we do? You know, I keep going back to the Fillmores and everything that they did and what they're still doing and the impact that they made. And there's no difference between what the Fillmores did and what so many others have done. And what I'm sharing with you is this idea or thought that it's not just exclusive to the Fillmores in any way, shape, or form. All they did was open themselves up. All they did was challenge the belief systems that they had and transform those beliefs into and in alignment with what I would call Christ consciousness. If you really look at the story of Jesus and others, what did they really do? They changed their belief system. What was the belief system? I'm mortal, I am a man or a woman or whatever. I've got all these beliefs that say I can't do all this stuff. In other words, all the egoic thoughts and ideas they had in their mind that constantly wants to keep us down and saying how much of a victim we are and there's nothing we can do about it, and whoop, 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 whoop. And they were over here, right? And all they did was they said, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm going to take a couple of steps over here. In other words, I'm going to go from not believing and I'm going to step into the adjacent possible, and eventually I'm going to step into beliefs that says what? I and the Mother, Father, God am one. There is no separation. This thing that the ego created, this belief that we're separate from God, is the biggest lie told to humanity ever. But we bought it. We believed it. And what I'm saying is, when you decide enough is enough, I'm done with this game, I'm telling you, the heavens will open up to support you in that decision. And what will happen in your life will become mind-blowing. The transformation is endless. The ability for you to create. You go from being a victim over here, you step into being a powerful creator over here. That is what we're doing, folks. That's what spiritual awakening is. You're no longer buying all this garbage over here, which says you're a victim and there's nothing that you can do about it. What's actually happening is you're stepping over here and going, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I'm not buying that old stuff anymore. It's garbage. You are powerful beyond your wildest imagination. You are needed now more than ever. You're important. You are valued. You matter more than ever. And to each and every one of you, I just want you to remember that. Like, it's time. It's time for this planet to wake up. I don't look at it often, but I mean, it's kind of crazy out there, don't you think? Well, do you actually think it's going to be an egoic solution that's going to take us from where we're at today to get over here? I got news for you. That ain't happening. Not through the ego, it's not. There's one thing that's going to save that, and that's your divinity. It's not your divinity, it's our divinity. Because when we finally realize and connect with our own divinity, and then we come together collectively and decide this is good, enough is enough, we're going to change this thing. And by the way, that's already happening. It is already happening. But then we get to start joining together. We come together, and then that's where it gets really, really powerful, because now you've got like minds are thinking about coming together, and like we've always been told, where two or more are gathered, right? And that's what it's about. So I leave you with a message of hope. I leave you with a message of hope on an individual basis, but I also leave you with a message of hope on a collective basis. We are going to do this. We are doing this. And you have a choice. Do you want to do it consciously, or do you want to just sit back there and sleep through all of this? Which you can. And again, there's no judgment. You don't have to do anything with this stuff. You really don't. Nobody's going to show up and say, that's not where it's at. That's not how it's going to happen. But for me personally, I like to be a little bit more involved. I want to consciously take my own awareness and I want to shift it from where it was to where it is now and beyond it. I'm willing to step in this moment of taking a quantum leap, and I'm going to invite you to do the same. I really do love you, each and every one of you, from the bottom of my heart. I say that every single week I get up here, but every single time I think about it, I just get all gushy inside and just want to tell you how much I love you and how much I thank you and how much I acknowledge the Christ in each and every one of you. You are doing an amazing job, each and every one of you. Oh, no, Mike, it doesn't, because I can't do that. That's all ego crap. You are doing exactly what you were meant to do. And yet we have the ability to do so much more, if that's what you want to do. I hope you have a really, really, really awesome day and an awesome week coming up. God bless.